Okay.
Seems like network is not on your side.
Yeah, it's taking a lot of time to load today. I don't know why. Even before joining the call, I spent about 5 minutes outside trying to join. But anyway, let's just persevere a little bit and see. Even if it doesn't load right, there's no problem. We'll go on ahead and still design this thing, even without getting the specs from
Is it frozen or I'm the only one seeing it as a frozen screen? The network has not loaded since.
I think he's surely having issues with his network here. Maybe I should just check. Let's just load the design while he's still trying.
But DTP, if it's there is network is disturbing you guys.
I think this was a design, right?
Your screen is not shared.
Oh, sorry. Oh my god. Can you guys see my screen now?
5 on 5.
All right. So basically, the first thing is to download the file. Once you download the file, you open Figma. Okay, what we'll do now, we'll just import the file.
I don't. Oh, okay, yeah.
Can you switch your back? Maybe you could take over. Can you get me?
But I think since his connection is not reliable, it's just better that you should keep it now.
Alright, I think it's still important. Where's my picture? Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see me in the call? Can you guys get me?
Yeah, yeah.
I can see your screen.
Alright, I'll just go and clone the repository on GitHub, so we'll just work from there. It's still lagging. I understand. Hey, this machine is lagging. You guys can still see my screen, right? I hope so. Can you guys get me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can.
It's still lagging. This is strange. Because I'm live, the thing is lagging. Oh, I don't understand.
So can you zoom a bit your screen because I can barely see what is written there.
Yeah, I'll zoom. Let me just pull the current code and create like a directory. Like, why is it lagging? So I'll just create a four.
I think I'm a bit stable now. Can people get me?
Yes, I can get you. Should I stop sharing?
Okay. Yes, I can get you.
Please, can you get me?
Yes, I can get you. I can get you, Prince.
Yes, I.
Okay.
Should I
Oh, okay.
stop
No.
sharing?
Yes, just stop sharing now. Okay, okay. I'll take it from here. Okay. Meg, even when I want to share, I keep on just losing connection here. I don't know what's the problem. I'm trying to share right now. It's already 8:23. I feel like we should postpone the class to tomorrow. A lot of people are not even in the call. Uh, can you see my screen? It's like it has started sharing. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
While I had internet issues, I already yes, while I had internet issues, I already imported the downloaded file in Figma and tried to load it before coming back to the call. I thought that might actually solve the issue, but anyway, I think it's okay now. You all can still get me right.
Yes, I can get you.
Okay, so I'm just going to create here day four, and within day 4, we are going to have two files: index.html and styles.css, just like what we have always been having. Then within index.html, we'll create this basic skeleton, just like that, and we are going to call this tagged cat. Yeah, tagged cat, since we have cats that, or this one, since we have cats that a cat that has or probably display different tags on them. Please, if at any point you cannot get me, please, I don't know how we'll do this, but I'm sharing my screen. I may not know when I've left the meeting. So, but anyway,
I'm
we'll
getting
just
you.
proceed.
Just right there.
Okay, so what we are going to do is that each time I do an iteration, I'm going to ask if I'm actually being heard.
Sure.
So, okay, so as usual, we always have our container. We can go to day 3 and get what we did for that container within the styles to centralize everything. So we copy these default stylings and bring them to our style sheet.css, and we link it to our HTML. Yeah, please, can you get me?
Yes,
Oh, me.
Yes.
It's like I'm off again.
I'm getting you, Prince.
Daniel, can you get me?
I'm getting you.
Meeting you, bro.
Hello, can you people get me, please?
Yes, I can get you.
Yes, I can get you.
Can you all get me, please?
Five and
Yes,
five.
I can get you.
The interface is still loading. Please, can you all get me? Daniel, can you get me,
Yes, I can
please?
get you. I can get
Can
you.
get you. Can get you.
Oh, okay. I'll just go on ahead and share my screen right now. Oh, you can all see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we were here where I created the skeleton for the HTML. I copied the styles that we had for day three, the first two styles for the document selector as we discussed and the container to align our contents to the center within this our new style sheet file within day four. So this is what we have and this is what we currently have on the site, just like this. So we'll go to the design and we are going to get the background for this one and replace it within our application. So I'm going to copy this background. It says linear gradient and it's of that color. We come here, we paste it here within our container, just like that. So if we come back to the browser right here, this is what we get. We get this background just like what we have on our Figma. For this thing, we'll start with the container. We are going to get some styles for it, the background, the border, the box shadow, and the border radius. So within our container, we are going to have styles of tag, let's just say tags wrapper, like that. So this tags wrapper, we are going to style it right now. You can also see get me right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know what's happening. Oh, please, Aliko or Brian, can any of you get me?
I can get you. I can get you.
I hope I'm back this time for good. Can you all get me?
Yes, can get you.
I can get you.
This is so crazy. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, your screen is
Please,
loading. It's loading.
network is disturbing. It is very important you people speak up, because if you don't speak up, I'll keep coming and keep on asking these same questions. When
Yep.
I ask if I'm not if I'm not on the call and I ask the question, please, one or two people should answer so I confirm that everyone is on the line. I don't know if people get it.
Sounds good. Your screen is presented.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's your screen.
okay. So like I was saying, I got the styles for within the container. I created a new zip with a class of tax wrapper. That's the name I gave to this guy, this container that we have within. Now I copy the styles from the Figma, the background, the border, this is it, the box shadow and the border radius. I haven't yet still gotten the width and the height, so if we come here, we will not actually see anything. It's there, but it's really pretty small. This white circle at the center, that is where it is. So if we get the width and the height like this, and we come here, we paste it right here, and we go back to the browser here. So this is it. This is that card. So I simply went to the Figma design and I got the width and the height and the background, the border, the box shadow. So just the properties that are necessary, not necessarily everything. The padding is also very important. Now, what actually gives the padding? Like if we click on the contents, like these tags, we come this way, we see this 32 on top, 32 this way, 32, and this section 32. Like we discussed in the previous class, the padding refers to that spacing that exists between the elements within a given container and its borders. So this thing here, this is the padding, and if we come here, we actually see it has a padding of 32 pixels. So it is very essential we copy that and add it to this container just like that. So if we come back to the browser now, you will not realize any changes or any differences unless we come within this and let's just write something. So if we write something and we go back to the browser, we realize that it's not actually touching the boundaries. But what happens if we remove the padding value? If we comment this out and we go back to the browser, we realize that it's touching, but not like what we have on the design. So we use the padding to produce that space. So we use it to shift the contents from the borders. So it's more of like the padding is that inward spacing of an element, and when we talk about margin, the outward spacing or the surrounding spacing that surrounds an element from its neighboring other elements within your application. So let's go back to the designs now. We have this tag here. So I would say we should use an H2 for that. I'm just going to get the styles, the font weight, and the font size, including the color. In fact, let's just get these values like this. We are going to come here within our application. We are going to change this thing that we wrote here to tags like that. We are going to come to our styles.css. We are going to choose the tags wrapper H2 and we are going to paste the Figma design. So I got the font width, the thickness of the font size, including the color. We are going to change this thing that we wrote here to tags. So we get that text here, tags. Are we there?
Yes. Yes, Wade.
Okay, please, any questions till this point?
No questions on my
My,
end.
my worry is how you hover to see your the CSS properties. That's just my worry.
Okay, how I get the CSS property from Figma?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, like I said, after you import the design within Figma and you open up the design, any elements you click or you select an element, there are three tabs here: design, prototype, and inspect. So we are more focused on the inspect, not the design, neither the prototype for this period of time. Later on, we are going to see how to use all of these things. So we'll start with the inspect. You scroll right down, you're going to see a CSS. These are some CSS values for this particular text which I selected. Now it's not everything that you see here that you're actually going to take and you apply to your CSS. You need to know what you want. For instance, I see the font width, which is very important, which signifies how thick a text or an element can appear visually to the user. And also, I see the font size, which defines the size of the text. The line height at times can be very important for text that have to do with multiple lines. If you created a report before you would know what I'm talking about. So the line height is very important for text that have multiple lines. I know the color is very important, of course. It's not black, which I'm seeing here on this tags. I'm seeing something else, so I need the color. So that was what drove me to get the font weight, the font size, the line height, and the color. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay. So for this case, the line height is not really important since as it's just a one line text and it's a one word. So the line height is not actually going to matter in this situation because the line height is mostly used to separate like, okay, let's say for instance, let's just do a very little practical demo. I'm just going to create a p tag here with this text inside lorem 40, just like that, 40 random strings within. And if we come here to the browser, this is what we get. Let's play a little bit with the line height. So we do here dot tags wrapper p. Let's do here line height. Let's just say 50 pixel. Then we go to the browser and we see something. So we see that the spacing from one line to the other, that is the line height. It has shifted this text every line onto or giving it a spacing from what is stopped by a value of 50 pixel. Is that okay? Do you understand what line height actually does right now?
Yeah, for me, I do. I do.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and delete this thing that we actually wrote here. Now, for the tags that we have within this container, these little bubbles, this thing inside. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a div that is actually going to have all of them. We'll give this class name of tags like that. And within each and every one of these, we are going to have h3s that is going to have or hold a particular tag. If we come here, we have the first one. This is Blender. I'm going to copy Blender and I'm going to paste it here. Now let's style this h3. So this h3 now is going to be for this circle and the text within is simply the Blender. So I'm going to choose this first guy. Come down here, I'm going to get properties from it. The padding is very important, the spacing between the text and the surrounding boundaries. So I'm going to come here for tags, I choose the H3, I give it that padding just like that. If we come to the browser, this is what we currently have. Since we don't yet have the background, there is no issue. So that is that. Let's go down here. We get the width and the height of that guy. In fact, let's just get the width, height, background, and border radius. The border radius is just specifies how round it is. The width and the height, we know what that is, and the background, which is white. So we don't have it the background of this tags wrapper. Now we paste it here like that. So after pasting this value here and we go back to the browser to see what we have, we realize that it's now circular, just like what we have on our designs. But one little thing, the text is really big than what we have on the design. So we click on the text, and from here we are able to get the font width and the font size, including the color. So let's first of all paste these two things, the font weight, the font size, and the color. I think the color is this same value that we had for this H2, just like that. If we come back here to the browser, this is what we get. Now the text is not really centralized as it is on our design here. The text is supposed to be centered within the container, but yeah, it's not actually doing that. So what we do is we can use our display, our flex box like how we discussed yesterday or during the our last session. So display flex, align item center, the horizontal alignments, the vertical alignment, sorry, and justify content center, the vertical alignments. So this way we are sure that both horizontally and vertically the text is going to be aligned to the center within our container, just like this. Now, one more thing is lacking the spacing between these tags and this container. If we come here, we choose this container and we go over here, we see that the spacing from here to here is 16 pixel. So we can go to this H2 and we give it a margin button of 16 pixel, just like that. So if we come here, this is what we get. The tags is up now and these things are separated from it. Now, what we can do is that we can simply just come here. We are going to copy this H3. We are just going to paste it about 10 times. I hope I'm counting. Okay. So we'll just leave it like that. So this is what we currently get. Now it is overflowing because we gave this guy a fixed height. So it's actually going two down. So what we need to do is that we are going to come here to this our tags wrapper, this thing. it had a width and we gave it a fixed width. We are going to give this to minimum height so it can extend, like the same thing we did yesterday for the other containers. In case the content overflows and goes too much down, we don't want to constrain it within that little amount of height. We want to allow it to be flexible. Are we all at the same pace, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are following.
Okay, so now we realize that on our designs, the things align side by side to each other, but right now we have them all stacked up like this on the same vertical alignment. So in order to do that, we can still use our flex, right? So we choose the tags. So we do dot tags, we do display flex just like that. And when we come to the browser, we see they are aligned like that, but now and again they overflow to the left. But for the width, we don't want to give it a minimum width because the width we don't want to expand more than the width which we have assigned to it. So we will come to the design. What we are going to do is that we are going to come back here, sorry, and we use the flex wrap property. We set it to wrap, and by the time we come here, we realize that as soon as it reaches the end, if there is no space for it to be able to occupy the width, which we have said, hey, we need you to occupy this width. If you can't occupy that width, then please go right down. Now, there is another odd thing here that we realize. Some of them are really long. Like, let's say, for instance, if we copy this mixed reality and we come here, let's paste mixed reality within one of these and see the behavior. So, if we paste the text which is longer, we see that it actually does this thing. It actually puts this mixed on top of this reality. So to prevent that, what we do is that instead of giving this h3 a fixed width, we remove this width and let the padding decide the spacing to the left and the right and the top and the bottom by the heights. So we allow the width to be flexible so that in case the text is long, it should still allow it to fill that entire container, since on the design that's actually what is needed. Longer texts have larger width and smaller texts have smaller width than these ones that have larger text. So we allow the container to be free. We had width set up here, but now we remove it and we just leave the padding here, but the height is still very important to maintain. Now, if we come back here to the designs, we realize that the elements actually have some spacing in between them. So we click on this. If we click on this, we are able to see the gap. Even if we click on one of these and we go to the next, we see 12, 12. But now if you click on the parent container, you're able to see this gap value here, this gap value. So if we get that gap value and we put it here, it's going to space out every element within this tags container, and which is our h3, by a spacing of 12 pixels from each other. So if we come here back to our designs, this is what we get. So if we come back here now and we copy and paste this thing again like this, we come back here, it looks like almost, well, almost like something we have on the design, if not the same thing, but almost, because except for that, we don't yet have this guy with this different color, which is modeling. But this, to have this guy with a different color, which is modeling, what we need to do is that we need to set a target. Okay, let's just target this guy. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's target the 8th element. So we are going to come here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We give this guy a class name of, let's just say, blue. So it has a different background. So we come here, we do dot tags dot blue, we give it a white color, then let's get the background from the design. So if we copy this, we come here, we get this background, we get it from there, and we go back here and we paste it there just like that. If we come back on the side, this is what we get. So we targeted a single element by giving it a different class name from the others. So it's always advisable that you start your styles generally for all of them, and those with differences you target them later on and you style them differently. So with that, I think this is what was required of you to do. We didn't say you should design all of this. We simply just said design this section, this card. I think the screenshot was sent to the group. So I don't know if there are any questions up to this point. Okay, I think I'm still on the call.
Yeah, you're seeing the call. They say the call ends in 7 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. But I think We have done what was required, right? So now rooms for questions, please.
And I had a concept
I
lesson
don't
to
know.
introduce
Is
today.
okay. I was out of the call, but I will just say
Um,
Yeah,
Prince, that means you
yeah
just
for
push now. Let me
this.
continue from my end.
yes,
Uh,
I've just pushed. Yeah, you said something, Aliko.
no, no worries. I'll just follow the video after the class because probably you must have said it, and I was maybe as I was not following, I was kind of not connected to the call. I will just follow up with the
Okay.
video.
Oh, okay, no problem. So the main thing is when you're designing, you should struggle as much as possible to tackle it gently. No matter how small the fractions are that you actually divide your entire design, please make sure you always do that so that you start having a very keen eye for design. Like what we did the other time, I was even thinking someone will ask the question, why didn't we divide these things again? Like what we did in the other class, and we just started coding, right? It is very essential on your end you actually do that. You have the container and you have this other container to hold the tags just like that. This is going to enable you go to the design tab, you can change the background colors and everything. So this is going to enable exactly where to position what. So and what tags to create within your HTML and all of those type of things. So it's like you're creating your own smaller wireframes from the main designs in order to guide you when you're coding. So we have this other container, and within this other container we have other smaller containers just like this. So we come here and we change this to white. Why did it not change to white? Okay, let me just duplicate this again and bring it here. I'm going to bring it to front like that. And we come here, let's change that to white. Okay. So we begin to duplicate just like that. So you start with your own these smaller wireframes and everything, and you begin to go within your design and you start designing. So with this, I know that I have a parents div, I have another div that is going to hold probably these little elements within, and another section. I don't know if I'm going to put maybe an h2 within a tag, or perhaps an H3, who knows? Probably this is just a small portion of a very big website. You may decide to use whatever tag that you actually want here. But the last class we discussed that there are some designers or some designs that you're actually going to see the tag which they actually used for these particular elements directly from the designs, and it's actually going to guide you to be able to structure your HTML contents properly. I don't know if there are any questions.
Please take that again. The last thing you said.
Yes, I was just saying that some designers actually do their designs and they are able to specify what tag each element on their design actually stands for. If it's an H1, you'll be able to read it directly from here. That's actually an H1. If it's an H2, you'll be able to read it directly from there. But nevertheless, it's actually very difficult at times to find designs with such labels, except for very professional or probably top designers that actually know how they have tweak their way around these elements and all the like. It's just a naming convention. I may still come here and I choose this tag and I come here and I rename this to an H1 text like that. So if you click here, you're going to obviously see that it's an H1 text, but then again, it's not professional. They have their own ways of doing them that you can read them directly from this inspect panel and not from here. So we are not here for that. So we are here to do the implementation of the designs, not designing. Any other question? Okay, Daniel, I think you can take over if there are no questions now.
Okay. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you can stop sharing.
Oh, okay.
Let me share my screen. Okay, basically, I just wanted us to talk about what they call UI neumorphism, right? So basically, with UI neumorphism is like it's a way you can design like your UIs to be really really cool. Like it gives it a particular
DTP,
look.
please let me interrupt.
Sorry.
They said the call is about to end. What we do?
Okay, I'll just end then. I'll send a link again in the group. All right, guys. Welcome back to the call. Sorry, the meeting expired. Please let me know when you see that I'm sharing my screen. Please, can you see my screen? Let's give 2 minutes for the others to join. But basically, what I was talking of is newformism. Newformism is like it's relatively a new design trend that It really gives your UI like good taste, like it has a better feeling when you're working with like user interfaces. So it's a very good approach for when building maybe your UIs. So basically, if you go to UI design daily, you are going to see neuromorphic UI components. So basically, we'll just let's see if we could download this, then build it so we know how it actually works. All right. Um, it's like it doesn't have a Figma design. Let's go to Figma and see if we can import that. So let's try to import from here and see. Okay. Oh, it's an Adobe XD sketch. Alright. So the design is from Adobe XD. Let's see if we have one though for okay, still Adobe XD. Well, since we cannot get like the Figma design of this, but now it's just like when you just see designs like this with certain like uniqueness, what you should think of is neomorphism. So basically, if the design does not load, we'll just show like a brief sample of how when you're building neomorphism components, how you should work with them. So I'll just neomorphism. Please, if you can see my screen, please let me know.
Clear, clear.
Alright, so I'll just create a new folder, neomorphism. So within that, I'll just create an index.html. So now we'll just like normal way. So what we'll just do, name it neomorphism. So basically, I said neomorphism is just a new design trend. Like it makes your UI really cool. So it mostly focuses on like the UX point of view, like the user experience, like the experience of the user once the user see this. Like we'll just come up like with the skeleton of this, since we don't have like the Figma design for this. Oh, right. Okay, the Figma design for this is paid. So what we'll do is we'll just build from this screenshot. I hope that that's clear enough. All right, so basically what we'll have here, we can just have like a parent div container which has a div of these different cards, right? Then within these different cards, now we'll have a div that has the icons. So basically all we'll do is who is still joining? All right, so basically what we do is, let me just put that side by side. Alright, so we'll have like a main div container class. Since we cannot actually get like the same flow of the design, we'll just illustrate it here, maybe with just our own template colors. And here we'll have our color palette, so we can use the colors that are here from this side. So firstly, we'll have like a parent div, right? So what we'll do is we'll just give our parent div. For now, like in the first, during our first video, I said each tag that you should make sure that you should know the attribute of that tag, because it's very, very important. So within our main div, what do we have here from the design? From this our main div here that covers all the cards. What we have now, we have another div that handles each of the icons, 1 2 3 icons. So what we'll do is we'll first of all create the first div here. The first div is going to have this credit card icon, right? So that's how you should think when you're tackling designs. The next div should have this gift card icon, and the next one should have these others. So that's how we structure our index.html. So our first div that we have is like the main div. Okay, so within this main div now, what we have now are those icons. So what we have here, we can have another div, right? So we're going to work with it like in different sections. So we can give this our main div, like it contains the other div, so we can give it maybe like a class of container, since it contains like all these cards within it. So what we do, we can just give it a class of container. Then our first div here should contain like let's see, we have the first div that contains now this another div which contains the icons. So we have another div here. So the main one here, we have the cards within this. We can call it, since we are dealing with neomorphism, what we'll do, we can just easily call them maybe new cards. So now within those cards we have the credit card icon, we have the gift card, and we have the others. So what we do is, the first, we have different cards here, so we can give it a class of cards. Okay, then now within the first card we have the one for credit card. So we have a credit card here. You can just give it name of credit card, and we also have for let's check, gift cards, and we have for others. So I have the same thing for gift cards. Others. So now let's link this to our CSS file. Alright, so let's just run and see what we have, so that we'll be checking side by side. Okay, so we have that just statically. So basically we're going to style it like stepwise. So what we'll do is, we'll have this our container card, and within the container card we have like our sub, like the div that contains the sub cards, right? The first card here is the credit card, we have the gift card, and you have the others. So what we'll do here is, now style the CSS. Now generally, I think on day 3, when Prince was explaining about general selector, what he said is, once you're working like on a project, what you have, there are always general stylings that you literally give it to each project. So the general style that we'll give for this, like we'll have like all throughout the page, we'll just have a box sizing of border box, a box sizing of border box. Then now for the, like if you want your body to always scale from top to bottom, left to right, without having any responsive issues, it's good to always give it like a margin of 0 and a padding of 0. So that's just the best way when you're tackling styling. So we can just work on our body tag, give it a margin of 0, padding of 0. Alright, now what we'll do now is we're going to structure um, all our divs that we have here. So what we have from the design,
Please, can I add something?
yeah,
After, let's say, selecting that universal selector, could we
yes,
not just give the margin 0 and padding 0 in that universal selector?
it's not, you can still do that, but now when it comes to responsiveness, we'll have some issues with media queries. I'm coming to that. Let's just come up like with a skeleton of the HTML. When we're styling, then we'll work with that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so basically we have 1 2 3 ifs, because most of the time it's very keen, you have to be keen when you're considering this. So we have this div for this is a main card, then we have the sub card. Like now each card has let's check, each card has different icons, right? So what we'll do is we're going to add a card icon for this credit card. Okay, we'll have a div for this. We'll have this in its own div. And we have this in its own div. So now aside the gift card, the orders, the next thing we have here that is just static. We have this text here, right? So this is more like a paragraph. This is a paragraph tag with a link. So what we'll do, we can just create a class for this order. We can create a div and give it a class for this section. Okay, so it should be found in the parent div. So I have a div of, okay, here we just have a paragraph tag. When the paragraph tag, we just have this text. Oh, I cannot copy from here. So just say stay on top of your other status deals. Alright. So I'll just leave it like that. Now we have this a link. So for links we have the a tag for links. So we can just add this here. So after this we can have, since it's not redirecting to anything, I just have hash. So just switch my keyboard. So what notifications? So I'll have enable notifications. Now the next skeleton we have is we have these two buttons, right? So normally with normal HTML, the normal you just have a div. So the button you just have a continue button, and we'll have which other button is there? Okay, you have the cancel button. So you have button cancel. Oh, sorry. So now we just have this skeleton so far. So now I have to align it. Oh, Microsoft Teams. Alright. So now that we have our skeleton in place, we'll have to start giving it class names so that to be able to style it respectfully. So since we're working like new morphism, we have like the new formism cards, like the different cards for the parent div. So within the first, we have like the normal card that contains the different cards like the credit card, the gift card, and the others. So what we'll do is within this main card, we'll have to have another div that is going to work for the icons that we have. So here we can have another div. Now the div we can use it with a class. Maybe we can have card icons for the different icons. So for the first one, we have the credit card icon. Okay, then within the credit card icon, what do we have? We have the labeling. Okay, so you can do the labeling later. So now then after we have that for the credit card icon, we have this div close, so this div is not needed here. Okay, then after we have this credit card we have to style it, so we can give it a class, maybe card name. So we'll do a general styling to all the cards. So I have card name here, we'll do the same thing here. I have card name, we'll do the same thing for others. Class, we have card name. So now this section that you have to stay on top of your other status, we can give it let's see, since it's like this the new section, we can just give it maybe a class of, let's say let's just say we can just give it a class of, let's just say new anyone. Then after that we have another div here that controls the button. So basically with buttons, you just like give it an action so that it can perform an action, it can be clickable and all the like. Aside that, we have our skeleton for it. So now we have to check like a general property that goes or applies to all the card. So that's basically like the container. So let's see what we have already. So that's just basically it. Now we cannot necessarily pick like the font from here, since we don't have like the original design for it. We're just following like the screenshot of it. So now what we'll do is we first of all focus on the body. If you take note on I think the second day, Prince he highlighted that when you're working with this, when you're moving items top to bottom, you have that's like if you display flex, you move from top to bottom, and if you align the items to the center, you move for some sections of a parent of a parent div. So it's important that when you move from top to bottom, you use justify content center. Like that's the best approach. So basically that's what we'll do here for our body to make sure that everything is centered. So now the first thing is we'll show, like, if you're working with this, you first of all you need to check if the font family is in place. But now we cannot necessarily know the font family for this, so we'll just focus on starting maybe with the background color of this body. So for this background color, either you check the color here, or you can install color picker extension. This is a color picker extension for Chrome. Once you click that color picker extension, you can basically pick any color here. Once you pick it, you can just copy the hex code for that particular color. But now we'll not go with that, we'll just go with the color that is specified here. So basically the background, this background color of this body should be this, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So now how are we going to add that? We'll just basically come to our stylings, style.css. To add that, we can just give a background color. So basically that's what we have. The color is not really something loud. Let's see if we can change like the variation for it and see if we can have something that, let's change the hex code of this to 2 and see if we have something darker. Well, better still, we can still go with that. Now that's the background color of the body. Now if you discover that there's a background color and there's another color, that because if you check here, you see this color, right, and this is the color here, but now there's an overlap with this other color. So if you want it to have like this exact color, you have to use this as the color, like the background color and the color of this section. So let's see if we use, that's when neumorphism comes in place. So when you're choosing color, so if you have color of this, right, and we still have like a minor, a slight difference from what we had before. This is the original color of this particular section. Now talking now of this place, from top to bottom you have like 100 v-ish. So once you're specifying for your body, like when you're doing your stylings, you have to make sure that you always give it a minimum height of at least 100 v-ish, such that if someone zooms in and zooms out on a scale of 100%, you have no issues. So let's just give our body a minimum height of 100 vh. If you hope you are still following.
Yeah, we're following.
Okay, so we'll give it a minimum height of 100 vh. Now the next thing, you remember on day 3, once we want to center this, we can give it a display of flex, and then we justify the contents to the center. So what we'll do is we can give our whole body a display of flex. Then let's see how it looks like. Nothing will actually change. Now let's align all our contents center, align our items center, and see if that works. So similarly to what we did that day, so you discover it has come down here. Now if you want this to actually position itself on the page, you can easily just give it now justify content center. All right, let's see how it looks like. So this gives like a better feel now of the whole body of what we actually want to actually achieve here. So from there now we can focus on the next section. So in our index.html, another thing that we could easily focus on, which when tackling, we can tackle for this links to, we can tackle the A tag to see, because if you check this design, if you look at this link here, you discover that here, like, there's no text decoration, but now on your default Chrome, like, you see there's kind of like a decoration of this text. So what we'll do for this, we'll give it a text decoration of none. And if you check very well here on this, you discover that this particular link has a color, like it has a color. So basically the two things you have to put in place here are, first you check, you give it maybe a color to make sure that it correlates with this. So we'll do the next styling for the link. So I have our A tag, can give it text decoration of none. So if we give it a text decoration of none, let's see how it looks like. So you see now it has no line underneath. Now the next thing is we'll need to get the color of this. You can either use color picker or you can check the color here. So this is the color code for this. So once you copy it, you can easily come here and you give it a color of this. So let's see how that looks like. So basically it has like similar color to that. Now we have our main container. So what to do is, like, if you discover, if we inspect, I don't think we'll have like a better view. Let's just see if we inspect, if we can see the size of this our container here. You cannot actually see that here now. Okay, so well, we cannot see the size of this container. Let's try and take it to 100% and see. Well, we can actually pick out the size of this container, but normally on your Figma design they actually give you like the size of the container that you have to work with. So most of the times, once you don't know like the size of the container, there are two things in place. It's either you give the whole container a width of 100 depending on the number of items that are going to be found in it, you get. So now, but here we have close to 5 different divs here. Most of the times, the more the divs, the more the pixels. So what I usually do is I always give, like, if I count I have like 5 different divs, I always give like the whole container a width of like 500 pixels. Now once you give it a width of 500 pixels, the what you do is you take now like the whole page, you have like 100 vh. So that 100 vh, now you can take like maybe the whole page could be 100% depending on the size you're in. Like here we're 100%. When we're working with responsiveness, we're going to handle that. So that's how we size our container such that all elements are going to fit in it. So for our class here, we have a class of container. So okay, since it's a class, we have this. Most of the time you can later on come and reduce the width, like you can just give it width of 500 pixels, or if you don't know like the number of divs that are found on the whole page, you can still give it a width of auto. But most of the time when you give it a width of auto 0, like you have issues with when you're tackling responsiveness. Now there's what they call max width calc. Like let's calculate the max width. Let's check max width mdn. Let's see how you use max width when setting like the maximum width of the whole element. So now it helps you to set the maximum of element, prevents you using value of the width properties like when it becomes larger than the value specified. So now if you know that maybe your page will be larger than 100% or will be lesser than 100%, the best thing to do is you can either fit like the whole contents of a particular percentage that you know, or there's something here. All right, let's, okay, they have not shown it here, but we'll just use a max width of maybe 100%. Then from there we can specify the value. Okay, so let's give our whole container a max width of let's say 100%. Okay, now one other thing when you're designing, you have to be keen, because if you check this right, another thing you discover is, one, you take note of the border radius, and another thing you take the padding of each container that is found within this, like the first container, the different divs that are found within that container. So most of the times you can give it maybe padding of 10 pixels. Now if you don't know, like you don't actually understand how padding, like if you see there's spacing here between it, if you don't know what like padding does, you can always come to maybe MD and you say padding MDN and you read more about it. Like it just helps like to set like the padding area on like different elements of at once, because if you see that 1 2 3 4 elements, padding of 10 pixels has created like the space between it. So now that we have our whole container almost in place, what we'll do is now we can work now our individual cards for it, right? Then maybe now we'll use like a display flex and align these contents. Maybe for the gift cards, we'll align it such that they can be in synchronization with each other. So what we do is, let's see, we have our container, right? Then we have our card. So we can work with the first card. Yes, we can work with this first card, but now the card is not okay. Sorry, I'm really tired. Okay, so we have our first card, we have the card icon, but now we don't have any card icon in it. Okay, so okay, so we're going to work now. We'll just tie this our the credit card, like we'll style the individual cards that we have in it. So we can just take this our card name, come to our styling. Now for our cards, where's the design? The design. Okay, now we have like our credit card, we have the gift card, and we have the others. If we know now that each of it is displayed alongside each other, right? So now we'll have to make sure that they, yeah, okay. So for our card names, I think we'll have 3 card names. We'll have 3. The first thing that you should take note of this card name is they are all in uppercase. Like there is a way in CSS that when you can transform everything to uppercase. Like you can just give it, you can give text transform of uppercase. So that's how we're going to do for our cards, right? You can just give all our cards like the text transform uppercase. Okay, then the other thing we notice for the cards, so we're giving a text transform uppercase, it has changed completely. Another thing we can notice for the card is um the text is really like bold. So once it's bold, you know, you think of font weight, so you can give it maybe a font weight of 400 pixels, font weight of 400 pixels and 400. So let's see how bold that is now. Okay, it looks bolder. Now the next thing after I've handled our card, now the we can make sure that how are we going to add our icons. Now the only issue we have here is this design is not linked to Figma, so it's difficult for us to extract to get these icons from here. Oh, that makes it really difficult for us. Alright. Since we cannot get those icons, what we'll do is now we'll just work with our buttons and make sure that our buttons look good. So we have our buttons here, we have the continue and we have the cancel button. So here we can give our buttons we can give our buttons a class of maybe, but now we have to differentiate each from one with another. So okay, one is blue and the other is not blue, so we can just give it the button of blue, and the other one will give it a class. You can just give it a class of button. Okay, so once we style this, alright, let's see this and see what we have that. So we'll style the first button that we have. Okay, so our button of blue is design. So first thing, we have a background color. You can always pick the background color from here. It's a background color. Copy. Give it the background color of that. Yeah. Then next, like I said at the start, you discover that it also has a variation as this behind design. So now it has like uh, the text within the button has a color of white, that's #FFF. So, and if you discover this also has like a box shadow, but now you cannot actually pick out the box shadow because the design is not available. So what we can do is we can just leave it like that. But now for the other button, we can work with that. Let's see how the buttons look like. So if you see here, it does not actually resemble. Okay, so we'll just remove that box shadow we have there. Also then you can box shadow and give it left, right, top, bottom, then pixels. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, now let's see if I'll give it a color code and see how it goes. Alright, it looks a little bit like it, but now for this to come out you need like negative stuff. Alright, now let's work for the other button. Let's see how for the other button, if we wanted to move this way, maybe we can give it rather than give it a display of flex, we'll give it a display of block. Then increase the width, and give it a width of 100%. Oh yeah, let's see. Continue. But now this is not necessary, because if we give it that way, that means what, that's when we're like tackling like the responsiveness of that section. So such that when you reduce, you have something like that. Guys, basically it's like we'll stop there. I'm really tired. Surely stop there for today. Like, yeah. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll just stop there for today and continue tomorrow about the uniformism because I'm really tired. So we'll continue from there next class.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
So I'll just
We
push
don't
now.
have any assignment.
There'll be assignment. There'll be assignment. The assignment
Pertaining to
pertaining to what things handled today. And there'll be more pages to design. So basically that's it for today. Alright. Thank you guys for joining. See you tomorrow.
Please